Shelley, this is kind of a bit of an odd question, but I'm going to ask it anyways. I'm in the green room prior to you getting in. Dimitri and I were talking about just what's in focus in our lives right now. And for me, what's in focus from a personal standpoint is just what you talked about, like actually feeling. So in my journey, I've gone from being unconscious with stuff, feelings, to conscious, meaning noticing where the feeling is happening. The next stage is actually like feeling the feeling, which sounds simple. It is not easy, especially for men of my age or whatever, men in general. You're told to just push that crap down, don't feel, just whatever. And so now, let's say you get a client, um, let's just say a man or whatever, and you're telling them, hey, like you need to communicate feeling, like you need to feel. And I could see them being like, what in the hell are you talking about? Like, how do I feel? Like how, because that's how I was with just like, how do I feel the feeling? So if you get somebody like that who's directly asking that question, or you can tell that's what they need help with, how do you help somebody communicate feeling and emotion?
Ah, well, for one, I'd never tell them you need to have more feeling. I'm not in the this is what you need to do type of coaching style. My style is very experiential, and exactly like we saw with Dimitri, it was he that said, I'm feeling. So I'll bring you around with storytelling. I'll direct you so that you can get to a point, talk about something you know, and the realization is on you. And clients, whether they're men, women, any walk of life, it's that individual that says to me, this is feeling amazing. I really was moved by that. I could sense the difference.
Yeah, that it's palpable when you don't have to be told to feel, you just end up feeling it.
Yeah, I could say, if I could just say, I was the kind of kid that never wanted to be told what to do. I was rebellious against anybody that told me something, my mother, the school, whatever. And growing up, I became very, sort of defensive about things. I was protecting myself all the time. And the truth is, once I realized that, and I started finding ways that I could learn without being told what to do, but by experiencing something, I'm coaching people the way I learned. And so I'm sharing that by saying, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I am going to try to encourage you. I'm going to tell you things you may not want to hear, but the growth piece, the learning piece is really an exploration of yourself. And once you get to that epiphany in that place, now you're in your head and you're taking your journey and you're making it personal to you.
Yeah, and I think so many people listening to this show who are business owners, entrepreneurs, first of all, they can probably totally relate to not wanting to be told what to do. And that's how they ended up being in the industry that they did. The landscape of marketing and business and everything is changing so fast with AI. What does it mean to communicate and be human in the age of AI?
Have real conversations with real people. The technical term, if you will, is conversational leadership. But the truth of what that means is everybody wants to be seen and everybody wants to be heard. And that's, again, back to the emotional piece that we talked about earlier. And when you have real conversations, human to human, and expressing how you feel, AI cannot do that. AI has not lived experiences. It doesn't know what it's like to go into a restaurant and have a really good meal. It doesn't know what it's like to have an argument with a colleague. It doesn't experience those things. It could only reiterate what it hears, which is very mechanical. So going forward to challenge the AI to make it your superpower or to survive AI and make yourself stand out, speak human to human. Try to challenge that polish and tell your stories because no one else is going to have them or experience them the way you do.
I love that messaging you just said, and a question that comes to my mind, or it reminds me of back in the day when I was in corporate America, and we'd have this matrix you would get graded on, and 80% of it was like things that had to do with sales, 20% were soft skills. Within that, those soft skills was communication, right? So it was a soft skill. It was not really um, seen as something you could ROI. And I could see leaders out there being like, "Who communication? Like what? Like I'm trying to make these sales, man. Like let's get to the bottom dollars." And how do you help? How do you bridge that gap? How do you help leaders see the connection between communication and ROI, or as an
Yeah.
ROI?
Yeah. And this is something that I realized was important. I was coaching a bunch of executives from an investment equity investment organization, and they're faced with rapid fire, intense questioning, line of questioning from investors, from people with a lot of money, boom, boom, boom. And speaking effectively and communicating well was clear. They came to me because they wanted to sharpen their pitch. They wanted to sharpen how they, can answer those questions in rapid fire fashion without falling apart. And what was interesting is we actually did a case study because I said, you guys are numbers people. What if I could show you a number, how what you're doing here with the communications is actually moving the needle on the bottom line of your business? So what we did was we started to measure the impact of the effective communications. For example, one executive, we calculated that they were able to reduce an hour meeting to 30 minutes. They had about 10 meetings or so a week. At the end of the week, they saved almost 19%. It was 18.75% of their time, reclaimed their time, just by having shorter meetings, effective and shorter meetings, because everybody walked away and knew what they needed to do. Then we multiplied that time savings by their salary. And at the end of the year, it was over a 5-figure savings. Now you multiply that times all the managers in your organization, all your key players, and even your junior people, anybody who's in your organization. Look at the time and money you're saving at the bottom line. So this calculator, this ROI calculator that I use with my clients, actually is measuring when they are speaking effectively, going in just like what Dimitri did. What do I want to say? For example, and here's the value with a call to action, which we add on. You're now effectively saving time and money over the course of the year, which is, I think, what most businesses are there to do, right? Save time and make money.
Yeah, they're there to make money for sure. And it seems like it's one of those things that can build upon itself. If you're a leader who's saving 20% of his or her time, others will notice this. You're an effective leader. You're probably more likely to get the promotion or a different job that's even higher paying, and or maybe start your own business. And anyway, it's extremely high ROI. I actually think, and I've thought this for the last couple of years, is communication, presentation, frame control. Like all these things are actually the highest ROI skills that a person can have, especially now in the age of AI. And I think most people, including myself, simply don't spend enough time on it because we want to pick up the pennies in front of the steamroller, so to speak, because we have like little small opportunities over here, but whereas the big opportunity is hiding behind more effective communication.
So I literally just worked with a client who is a senior developer for a marketing technology company. And we ran this drill, the 4-minute drill, before this person went into the meetings. And the end result was they came back to me and said, I have so much more time to do more things on my job that I'm required to do. I didn't spend hours preparing for this meeting. He even had a slide deck, and we used the framework on the slide deck, and without even AI touching it, They were able to crystallize their idea. They knew exactly what they wanted to say. We built a whole layout in minutes of this deck, and it made it much easier for the teams and everybody to put those graphics together, the ideas together. And again, to your point, this person saved so much time. They could actually do the work they were hired to do and not preparing for meetings.
Great news. The conversation continues. When you subscribe, like, and ring the bell, you'll know when a new episode has released. As always, speak remarkably.